What's up, everybody? This is your boy Abe, and you're now tuned in to the most exciting show coming out of a tub, BPI Sports Podcast, The Scoop. Okay, here we go. So let's get it started. So today's guest at BPI Sports, no stranger to none of us, India. India, how's the last name? Say it again. Paulino?
Paulino.
I feel like I keep saying it wrong.
No, it's Paulino. You're
Okay.
saying it right.
Thanks for whitening up for me a little bit. Let me see. I feel like how would I phrase this? I always feel like our relationship between you and myself should have always been better, because I feel like I'm a lot of the times around Whit, or I talk to Whit, who is your husband, and when I'm with him, he talks about you, and I'm pretty sure at like 12:30 at night, I'm like watching Family Guy. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking text this to Whit. He has to be up. So I'm pretty sure at some point he has to explain to you that's Abe sending fucking messages.
No. I hear a lot. Hey, let me show you this episode. So me and Abe, Family Guy. Abe, some YouTube like skit and something hilarious. So yeah, definitely.
So we're always around together, and I'm like, man, I don't understand. Like, we never connect, and then I'm like, I don't know why Whitney doesn't invite me to those barbecues when he's always cooking nice food on Instagram. Like, there's like 4 steaks right there. Your son can't eat a whole steak. Like, all right, well, I gotta get over there one of these days. So.
Well, for sure.
And also, y'all traveled a lot international.
We do.
Yes, we do.
But I've never run into you either.
No, the only time I've ever seen you was like in the past when Whitney would talk to you, or it'd be quick hi and byes.
Like before, we like really reconnected.
Yeah. It'd be like it'd be quick hi and byes. But before running into those accomplishments, so as I stalked your IG page, you got your. I felt like this was more because obviously you would do the shows and I would go and act like I sold, and that's how we did that's how I made my career. So all fake sales and you winning shows. But you had 15 pro title, like wins, like championships for shows. You won 3 Arnold Classics,
yes,
right? Which is awesome. But that was like domestic?
So I did it 2013, 2016. It was Ohio and one Australia.
Okay. I was there for the Australia one, I believe.
You were? 2016.
Yeah.
That was my,
Yeah. So I believe I was there.
At the last one in the U.S. too.
Yeah.
It was back to back. So
Yeah.
it was, because typically you do Arnold Classic, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and then you go to Australia, which was originally not even an Arnold Classic, because I won. It was 2013. It was called something else, and then that's when they brought. They're expanding on the Arnold Classics, and it's pretty much all over the world now. But
yeah,
yeah,
they're everywhere. So, but you had other titles as well, other countries, everywhere else.
Yeah,
because I remember we would travel everywhere, and I'm like, man, these people are collecting checks. I'm like. From country to country. So those are your titles, your accomplishments, your achievements. Used to be an ex-cop, and you also are a mother of one. So far, you became a cop after getting fired from McDonald's. That was
true.
No, I'm just playing.
No, never worked at McDonald's ever.
No. How was being a cop?
It was awesome. It was literally like I till this day I say that law enforcement, there's no other job like it. Like, I'm an adrenaline junkie, so it worked for me. Every day was different. I can't even explain it. Like, it just fit my personality so well. And yeah, I mean, I miss it at times, but it's just not realistic, for me and the lifestyle that I live. And yeah, I really enjoy making my own schedule. So
a ton of my friends are like cops, and they always like, man, I do nothing. I watch some kids at school, and I get overtime. But see, no,
I wasn't an SRO. Like, so it depends too, like what city you're in, like what's going on. Are you on the road? Are you in a special unit? Are you in a school? Like, I would be so bored if I was in SRO. If I worked at a school, I'd be like, no. Like I liked doing stuff. Like I was very proactive. So
okay, all right, I feel you on that. I would be the opposite. I would definitely be the guy that'd
You'd
be like,
be
yeah,
like
put me in an elementary school or something, because I always see the news and it's insane.
Well, no,
I
mean, until God forbid you have like a school shooting or something like that, which we all pray not to. But you know, there's not much going on.
Yeah,
there's not.
And then obviously the ads are a little scary. It's like, oh, we're hiring like 3,000 plus cops. I'm like, what's happening here right now? Like,
no, well, I think too, like I would say, like, especially when it was the time when I left, I decided to leave, and focus on, you know, I was traveling a lot, like all over the world. I was competing, I was speaking, I had other businesses. When I went in, I knew I wouldn't retire from being a police officer. I actually joined because I wanted to go federal, and I needed military experience, which I wanted to go in the military. My mom freaked out. So I was like, all right, Mom, I guess I'll be a cop. And I still had that with me, and I still wanted to join the military so bad. But anyway, so I was like, all right, I'm going to do 3 years. I ended up staying there for 8. I loved it. Did not want anything to do with the federal, like just didn't want to go federal.
Yeah.
And then I got into competing, and the traveling really is what like made me, because I could do other jobs and run businesses and stuff while being a cop. But when you're traveling literally sometimes 3 weeks out of the month, that wasn't fair to the other guys, you know? And
I gotcha.
And they're like, dude, like you're using up all your time. Like, why aren't you at work?
So then you were competing when you were still working as a cop. So then you were just like, this is now your new passion. And
and it was crazy because I never saw that in my future, like fitness. Like I was literally like 90 pounds. I didn't like, I was like, seriously, like I still say that I have like a little boy body to me, but like 10 years ago, dude, before I was I was like a freaking, what do you call it? Like a spaghetti, like just a freaking thin little, like literally when I applied, I had to write a letter to so I was doing Krav Maga, and they actually wanted me to run my own school. Like I was doing really well in it. It was all like with the men. That's who I'd fight with, because there were no women at that level at that point. Like the chief requested a letter from them saying like, okay, she's good, she can defend herself, because I was so small. But he was like
was
the most
that to
caring.
Like go out into the field?
Because he was like, dude, you're so young. You remind me of my daughters. Like it's like shit happens out there. Yeah. Like, are you prepared? I'm like, I got this. And so I just for like extra, you know, just they wrote the letter, and he was like, all right. He's like,
I mean, everybody knows, you know, and it seems like the industry, especially on the side for women, is just growing. Like there's more women at the show than men. And before we got in here, me and you were talking about it. It seems like big fish in little pond. So it's like every hot chick at every little gym or whatever the case is. I got a ton of them at my gym. And then just so my girlfriend's watching, it's not a ton of hot girls. It's just like,
get out of this one.
They're okay. No, they're gorgeous chicks, and they do their deed. They condition down, they train, they diet hard, just the whole nine. And they go to these shows, and now it's them against
all the other hot chicks from their gyms. Like we were talking about, it's like you're the queen of your gym.
Yes.
But then you take every queen of every gym all over the world, and now you put them all together, and now it's like they don't know what to do with it.
Of course.
And then there comes like the being pissed off and like the insecurities. Yeah. I don't got time for that shit.
No, definitely not. And I guess one of my favorite trends that like when I would see you on stage, and no offense to any other type of chicks, you know, obviously I'm pro women all the way, but when I would see that you were like blonde hair, I didn't have blonde hair, I was like, dude, every girl on stage has blonde hair. Like, at some point, like everybody was like blonde at one point on stage, and like,
well, the blondes never did well. Like what did well and what's still doing well is dark hair, exotic type, more ethnic looking.
Yes.
I don't even want to say that. I would just say definitely dark hair, because like the only blondes I would say, like Justine Monroe, But she did well only really at the Arnold Classic. And then she's really the only blonde.
I feel like with the blonde hair and like the spray tan on, it just looks so weird.
Like I know some blonde and they're gorgeous,
Yes.
but like you gotta have some flavor.
That's what I'm saying.
You gotta have some
That's what
flavor.
I'm
And I'm
saying.
not saying that if you're blonde, you don't, but
Yeah.
I feel like the girls that do the best are typically Latin women.
Yeah.
Because I think naturally that flavor is there. They have like some sazon, something. And I mean, look at the past Olympia winners. They're Brazilian. I mean, yeah, there's never been a blonde winner. No, not even that I can remember at the Arnold Classic either.
I just feel like obviously at times when we're with the company and you get access to backstage and you would see everybody all about and around, like, it just looked like that was like the trend. Everybody was like
Really?
blonde, and you're like, wow, everybody looks kind of the same.
But see, that's the thing too, though. There are so many competitors. There are so many competitors, and I think that depending on where you are, like for example, me, like people ask me, oh, do you know this person? I'm like, gosh, no, I don't. Like I only really know if I've met you and we've interacted before and you made an impression and I remember you, or really just the top girls at the top shows, because number one, I'm the type of person, like when I would compete, and I'm not actively competing right now, like I don't give a shit what anybody else is doing. I don't give a shit what anybody else looks like. Like I'm not focused on anybody else but me. And it's not a selfish thing, because I know, yes, they say you have to be very selfish to be in the sport, and that like, whatever, that whole thing. But it's not that. I just think that here's the thing. What the hell is you focusing on anybody else going to do for you? At the end of the day, all you have to do is be your best, because why are you comparing yourself to anybody else doesn't do anything. That's going to be up to the judge.
Yeah.
And not taking it personal is also another thing that's very important. And I think that that's what separates a lot of people who have longevity in the sport as opposed to those who don't. The people that, number one, are literally stalking every other competitor's Instagram or whatever. Why?
Yeah.
Like, dude, like focus on yourself. Be confident in yourself. Why are you up your mind? Like,
yeah, I think that's why it's important to hear it, obviously, from someone in your shoes, where you've had this success and you've competed against top women globally, literally globally, and you've won and you've taken, second, third, whatever the places may have been, and you've always had a bounce back. And especially like when Whitney was just talking about it, coming back to BPI, and I had seen it when you were doing your comeback. I was like, dude, you did what, 6 months after your son was born? You did the Chicago Pro?
Yeah, just shy of 7 months postpartum.
Just shy. All right. And at the Chicago Pro, I
got third.
Third?
No, second or third. I can't remember.
I think it was second from what I looked up. And if it was second, I got to make some calls. I'm originally from Chicago, so we're going to go ahead and change that in the books there. We got to switch that up. But then either way, after that, you still went on and competed at the Olympia as well.
Yeah, so a lot when I was pregnant in 2017.
Yeah.
And that year they made some changes to where, like, every year, because I had competed consistently and I placed in the top in every show I did. I mean, you take 8 years of me competing, and I'm probably the only, I know I am the only bikini girl that has competed for 8 years and consistently placed first call out, with the worst placing ever of 6th place. And that was at like a Arnold or Olympia.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was always, and that's something I'm very proud of and very grateful for. And, now you look back and you're like, damn, like I did pretty damn good,
Yeah.
and when you're in it, it's easy to just forget about it. But that's one of the things I think is important, is to just really celebrate each accomplishment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what changed was the way you qualified for the Olympia when I was pregnant. So before, every other year, you would just have to win a pro show to qualify, right? So I would always compete. I'd win a show, or I place in the top and I was already qualified. I hadn't competed because I was pregnant. They changed the rules. So now it was based on a point system, which means you had to compete a lot, build up these points, unless you were top whatever it was at the Olympia. I wasn't competing because I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time ever in my career that I had to actually compete multiple times to try to rack up these points. And I started off literally way late in the season because I was prepping for it. So these girls, you had all these girls who had been competing all year, racking up these points. And I had 3 shows to make it happen. Like, that's it. 3 shows to make it happen. And I actually didn't put pressure on myself. I was really happy. I gotta say, it was different competing coming back as a mom.
Yeah.
It was hard as I'm not gonna lie, but for different reasons. I think, a lot of people bitch about the physical part, and they bitch about everything, really.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, nobody's
I'm in that
forcing,
stage right now
well,
with myself.
like, oh, well, this will be good. Like nobody, we have to remember, like, nobody's making us do this. Like, why do we do this? So shut the up and do what you gotta do. Stop bitching about how much cardio you have, because at any point you have the control, you have the power to just say, it, I'm not doing it.
Do you use a coach, or you're just your own coach?
So in the very beginning of my career, I did have a coach.
Okay.
That was very terrible, but I don't regret it because I learned this coach like fucked me up. Like, and I know you hear that a lot from coach, but seriously, I wasn't even 100 pounds. I was running literally multiple marathons a week. I mean, I had my
off his program.
I wasn't even 100 pounds. I was eating probably less than 1,000 calories. My hair was falling off, but I didn't know any better. So I'm the type of person, I'm like, extreme, go for it, do it. Yeah. Didn't know enough at that point. And then finally I'm like, something's wrong. When I started realizing that I was starting to now judge my body, a person who never even, I looked at my body as something that, like, it was just like, I just wanted to be strong. It wasn't about, I need to be this. And when I started, I was like, girl, you're getting yourself into an eating disorder. Like, back the F up. Like, back up. I curse a lot. But I started kind of, while I was with this coach, I just started making changes. And then I spoke to, it was him, then it was her. There were a couple. And I said, listen, this is not working for me. And they didn't listen. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'm gonna do this shit myself. So I started doing it myself, but I still gave them credit. Yeah. And then finally I left. I just split ways, the best thing I could have done. And then everybody knew. So I prepped myself for years. I won the Arnold's Classic myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until 2017 when I went to defend my title, and I ended up getting 4th, unfortunately, but still 4th is amazing. Yeah. I got a new coach. Literally 5 weeks before the show, I wasn't going to compete, but I was in great shape. And I looked amazing, but we had never worked together. And so like the way that he did his thing wasn't the way I did it, and the communication wasn't right. And so I didn't look my best the day of the show, and there goes my title. But it's cool. He's he's amazing. He's very respectable, and he was honest with me, and he was like, dude, I'm sorry, like, whatever. I respect that, you know? And so I stayed with him. So I did work with a coach, coming back. Kim Odo is his name, and he's awesome. And so he helped me with
the comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
For the stage.
So this time around, you worked with the.
So I did, but it started because, I thought I was done competing before the baby, and then it was like, I've always been my own motivation. Like, I always have found, like, people are like, oh, who motivates you, or what do you look at? I'm like, honestly, like, nothing motivates me. I know what I want. I have my goals. They're important to me. And, I was always taught by my dad, it's like, he's like my best friend, and he's like, your obstacles are as big as you make them, and nothing is impossible. And the only thing that is for sure and guaranteed is death, which is true. So for me, like, I grew up in a home where, like, I didn't see any, like, obstacles. Like, really, if there was an obstacle, I needed to really just think about what is it? What's the solution here? How can I make this, how can I break this down?
Yeah.
And so, I just would just make shit happen.
Yeah. But so you had obviously a ton of success. You've again, back to it. You've had multiple titles. I mean, this comeback's phenomenal. I know there's people that have a ton of kids, like not like one person per se, but ton of people having kids, and it like everything changed over. Like, I have friends who their wives have kids, and they're the ones that are gaining the weight and giving up. And
which happens because I know I have to say, I told Whitney, I was like, get ready, because the man gets pregnant too. Like, he gets us out. And I think that here's the thing though with that. We have to remember that even though the woman is the one carrying the baby, it takes two, and there's still an energy and you're still connected.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I remember to be like, oh, my back hurts. I'm like, oh, so you know how I feel. but it's very real.
Oh yeah.
And but you know, I have to say that the pregnancy actually I felt kind of helped. Whitney, you know, he's so used to being like shredded and like boys want to be just like, you know, he's been on a ton of magazine covers and I'm like, listen, I think you're hot as shit like all the time. And actually being depleted like that is not attractive to me. And I think most girls like, yeah, it looks great on a cover, but like, I don't want you fucking walking around like all like sucked in and shit.
Yeah.
But like men's like, no, I'm fucking ripped. And I get it, but like,
we gotta
I like
be normal.
you. Like, yeah.
You gotta be normal.
And I think what was great is that he let go a little bit and he learned to I'm like, dude, enjoy food. Like, enjoy the shit. Like, you know, and so that was cool. But then also just watching him kind of like just transition into like the role of like husband and father has been like really cool too.
Yeah.
Especially like just we're two very independent like people that are very good with ourselves. And so now when you have that and sometimes that can create problems because you have two people that like, I'm very independent and self-sufficient and just, you know, do my own thing and very strong personality. And then he is too. And then, but
it collides.
You learn to, not everybody, but through communication and love and patience and everything, you learn to, you're able to become a team, which is, and a family. And just like how we've transitioned into that and how we've come is amazing.
That's
like,
good. The teamwork part is where it kicks in because it's like you said, you know, when there's two
I mean, like,
people
have you seen
just
changes? Like, I'm sure you've seen changes in Whitney since like.
You know what, though? I've always had two sides of it. There's always been the friend who was always fun side, Whitney, with me. And then he's always been the bigger brother on a side as well too. Like there would be days where, you know, work would be going shitty or something was going shitty in my life. And Whitney would be like, dude, when I was your age, I was like living in a car. And I'm like, how am I going to cry after hearing some shit like that? Like,
but it's true though.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, you know, he always has a way of like picking me back up. And I know exactly what you mean because I would never judge like his leadership. Like whenever he says something, I'm like, it is so. And I'm sure you're the same way as well. So like when somebody says the first plan, I'm pretty sure you've already thought of yours. So you're like, what if we did this though? And that obviously, like you said, if there's not teamwork, it's a conflict because it's just two sides.
Yeah, I think we're really good at, like he's like my biggest cheerleader. Like it's awesome. Like he supports everything that I do. Like, you know, and I think we do that for each other. Like I push him, like I encourage him, like, dude, you're doing this, you can do this. Like like think this, like think even bigger, like think, and you know, and that's awesome, especially when you have two people that are very career driven and have like goals. Yeah. So it's cool. It's interesting too. And you know, it's not, I wouldn't say that anything really changed in our relationship other than really we just become closer and closer. Like this is the first time that I feel like, and I know for both of us, it's like this is my family, you know? And like, we both have been married before, but it was very different. We were both in different places and our relationships with our exes was very different than our relationship now. But I think also too, it's the type of person, the type of woman for sure. And, no, it's cool. Like he was going into these shows, he was just amazing. So it was always fun. Like,
oh, I'm glad. Always the support is always big. And I mean, I don't know what it is to get on stage. Right now, I'm doing that little trainer myself.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, I come home and like my chick will prep something for me, and I'm like, oh my god, like you don't understand how much that means the world to me. Like, so you know, you come home and you see the little things like that. You know, it doesn't even have to taste good. I'm just so happy. I come home, I'm like, I'm going to tear that up. Like, you know, so I'm happy at that. So I would say, you know, well-rounded. You have it. I mean, shit, if I was a chick, I'd be very envious. And as a guy, I am envious of Whit as well, too. You guys have a beautiful household. I mean, you have a beautiful son.
Thank you.
Your careers are just booming. They're not even steady. They're booming. You're on the incline. I would honestly say, to like the younger chicks that are coming up out there, is there any advice that you would give them, seeing how long you've competed, to stay on track? And like you've just mentioned, not to forget the most important things. Like you've said, like how you have family and you have like this perfect balance. I mean, I think it would be so hard to compete and be at the level that you did with your son, and with being around, obviously having full support. I just think it goes back to the obstacle that you said that your father once told you, they're only as big as you make them. Like, how would you tell this up and coming generation, like, dude, settle down. This is what you got to do, because I mean, you're doing it without a coach. I mean, you're on top of it yourself. I mean, you're winning, so these people got to know something. I mean, half these guys, I mean, that's like going into a fight without anybody in your corner. And you're like...
But that's how it's interesting, because I feel like my whole life, I did feel that way. And so I'm prepared. Like I said, my dad, like, he was like, you're going to, like, I had my mom, I mean, gosh, I have the best family, but my dad always taught me, like, you are going to learn to take care of yourself so you don't depend on a damn man, and you don't depend on, and I think that just builds, like, a sort of, like, character.
Of course.
Nowadays, like, there's so many different things. You have, like, so many girls who, number one, when I had the baby, the amount of women competitors that reached out to me that were like, oh my gosh, you are giving me hope. Like, you know how long I've been putting off having a family? Do you know how long I'm like, what? I'm like, listen, like, that's fine. Get shit done. Get the things, get it out of your system that you want to do. But if you are really wanting to have a family, girl, have your family. Because you can do it. Like, this shit that women can only do one thing, or no. Like, you can do it. You just have to want to do it, and you have to find a way to do it. It's not easy. I'm gonna tell you right now, that shit ain't easy. Like, I'm pulled in so many different directions every day. Like, I have like businesses that I take care of. Like, I have Whitney, I have the baby, I have the house, I have, like, there's a lot of different things. But you find what works for you and your family if you want to. Is there a perfect balance? I don't know that there's such a thing, but there is a sort of balance that you have to find for yourself. I think that girls need to reevaluate why they're competing if they find themselves being miserable and bitching about everything. And this goes for men too, because I hear plenty of whiny men. It's like, why? This should be fun. This should be, yes, it's hard, but if you're miserable doing it, don't do it, because life is short. So like, reevaluate why you're doing it. There are ways, and it's easy to get tunnel vision. Have a life. Don't just, it's like you have to find that little like area for you where you are completely focused and you're going to do everything you need to do. But at the same time, you don't forget about life and the people around you.
Of course. Because
then if competing's not there, then you run into the people who are like super depressed. They don't know what to do with their life. I'm like, continue with your career. Don't give shit up. And like, do something with yourself, like other than competing.
Yeah.
Like, build something out of it.
Yeah. And again, I feel like, I don't know if it's just them in search of fame or what it is that they're looking for. My trainer that I'm doing now is based off of the whole don't call it a comeback idea. And it's to pretty much show intermediate beginner based gym enthusiasts who want to come train, get in shape, to show them, like, look, dude, you can get in shape. And I spend my weekends obviously I do my cardio on the weekends. I do active cardio. Come back, I have a cheat meal. I enjoy the food, just like you said. The diet's working great. So like, I'm dropping weight. I'm leaning out. But then even with Mike, I get to spend time with a lot of my friends.
You have to, yeah.
Even if it's for an hour. I mean, we go out, we do shit. I mean, it's a part of life.
Exactly.
And I feel like, again, that's why I said it seems like, I know you say it doesn't, because in your circle or from where you stand seem a little chaotic, but
not chaotic, but
well, yeah.
I think that's also like a med. Like, if you allow it to be chaotic, then hell yeah, it's gonna be chaotic.
Yeah.
You gotta bring yourself back. You know what I'm saying? When it feels like it's getting like that or overwhelmed. And again, that goes to, I'm always going to say is personal development. And that's what I do. I'm a personal development coach. Like, I mean, I do a lot of things, but that's one of my most passionate things, because you have to learn how to handle your emotions. You have to learn to yourself. Okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. How do I calm it down? Because if not, yes, it's going to be chaotic and it's going to spiral, and you don't know how to handle this. You're going to get miserable. Now you're pissed at everybody else.
Yeah.
And like, it's a lot. But yeah.
I think when you get to that point and you start pointing fingers.
Oh yeah.
I think that's like you've given it up. You've given up. You know what I mean? Like if you lost a show or something like that, I feel like it's a wrap on you, and you just need it's like you said, reevaluate what you're doing, and you just got to find your bounce back. You know, I would say, obviously, hopefully a lot of the younger listeners, and I would say men and women, because I know there's some guys that are like, man, I want to have a kid, but you know, I'm still doing this, and it's like, dude, if you want to have a kid, don't deprive yourself of that happiness. Like if that's something you see, I mean. Have
you ever heard of this where I saw this video and this guy was talking about where like he didn't even want to try having kids because he thought having sex was going to fuck him up with like his like physique. I'm like, what the hell is that shit? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
No, I remember a long time ago on MTV where like this one dude on, it was Real Life or something like that, where it was like, bodybuilder in training, and the guy was like, if my girl chews gum or even doesn't chew gum, I don't kiss her because I don't want to take on extra calories.
So that's like extreme. That's extreme.
The best part was the guy didn't even win the show. So I'm like, dog, you missed out on months of kissing, and I'm pretty sure romance.
But see, you like things like that exists so much in many different ways when it comes to like people get into, and I actually have an episode on my podcast where I talk about this. Fitness isn't always healthy, because I think when the obsession kicks in, which is you have to keep yourself in check, because some people, especially people who maybe are coming in with insecurities and things like that, they're like, oh shit, I look good. I'm losing weight. This, I'm going to go this way. And then it gets more and more and more and more extreme. And next thing you know, like you have an eating issue, or you have body dysmorphia, or you hate your life. And it's like, no.
Yeah. I really like what you said there, that the whole thing that fitness isn't really healthy.
It isn't always, no.
I actually like that line. I think a lot of people need to, like, when you hear it, you got to take a step back and go, damn, she's right. And you start thinking about all the madness.
Well, it's like you have people that are like, all right, I'm brand new to working out, never worked out, but I'm going to give this a try. I'm ready. And then they go they cut all their calories. They're only eating like 700 calories. They're doing 2 hours of cardio. I'm like, where the hell are you going to go from there?
Yeah.
Start small. Eat your food. It's like small changes.
Yeah, with that amount
of calories. But then that starts you off. Like you're just going to go, that'll work for a little bit, and then it's going to stop working, and then where do you go? And then that creates issues.
Oh, yeah.
So
you all as well do another podcast. What's your podcast?
It's called Raw by India Paulino.
Nice.
Resilient, Authentic Woman. And it's on iTunes. So there I just chat about basically everything, like motherhood, fitness, relationships, everything. It's just, and I say how it is. Like I'm the type of person, like I don't sugarcoat shit.
Well,
like
I mean, the show's called Raw. Outside of that, I've said it one time before too on one of our footage. I was like, if I had a documentary and you saw my life, it'd probably be called Duh. Like, duh. Yeah, of course it's going to happen to this guy.
Yeah, I just think there's so many people that are like, you're so worried about what other people think. And I think that, like, as long as you have good intentions and your message is there's love behind it and your intent is good and to help others and there's no judgment, say whatever the you want to say.
Yeah.
So
you guys watch this show too, because your chicks might be watching it and you need to be on the same page. So.
It's good. Actually, a lot of men I've gotten good feedback.
Of course.
My last episode was toxic relationships. Ooh. And so there were a lot of people that were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for this. Like, this is me right now. And I'm like, I think everybody has at one point in their life experienced that. So
nice. And your podcast is viewed on
iTunes right now.
iTunes? Mm-hmm. So booyah, that's another podcast you guys could also tune into on iTunes. And pretty much, I mean, we're going to do it right now because I think I got to get back to work. So I'd like to chill out. But we're going to wrap it up. And for those of you who are jealous, yet again, I am here with the only champ that I recognize. And me and India are going to say peace out. India, you got anything you want to say? Last comments?
No, just thank you for having me. And if you guys want to connect, I'm on Instagram at India Paulino and website indiapaulino.com.
Oh yeah, and also before we jump off on that note, there you do personal training also.
So I do online training, have ebooks, stuff like that.
Nice.
I work with moms. I have the Conscious Mom Project where I work with moms on whether it's training or just helping them become a better conscious mom for a better relationship with themselves and their children. And personal development, because we all need that shit.
Yes, we all do. So making the world a better place while staying as hot as ever, my guess. And our friend here. We'll catch you guys later on the next scoop. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher. I'll see you next week.